Americans are the #1 target in the world. They always have been, and even more so since 9/11 and since all of what we did in Afghanistan, our actions against Iraq.
Seeing so many kidnap cases, McQueenie knows which tactics usually lead to a safe release and which don't.
The surest way to kill yourself would be to try and escape. If you do a negotiation and pay the ransom, 99% of every victim in the world is going to be free.
Most of McQueenie's business comes from companies who sell kidnap and ransom insurance. When a policyholder is kidnapped, McQueenie's response is a practiced choreography. First, get proof the hostage is alive. Next, negotiate the ransom to what McQueenie calls a fair price.
Usually in a place like Colombia, it'll be 30 to 40% of their demand. Mexico, it might be 40%, same in Brazil, and so forth. We have negotiated ransoms for several hundred thousands to up into the millions.
Delivering all that money is the riskiest step for McQueenie's team. It is disguised to evade roadside bandits, then driven deep into the kidnappers' territory.
And at that point, they would take the money, count it, while all the time having their weapons trained on you, and then when they're satisfied that the amount is what you were supposed to bring, they'll release you.
The victim is usually held another week, then released, completing the transaction.
It's a business to them. It's a business in Colombia, it's a business in the Philippines, it's a business in Mexico.
The business of kidnapping touches so many lives. The weekly radio show now lets families send encouragement to hidden hostages. Right now, hidden in this Colombian jungle are more than 3,000 kidnap victims. The lucky ones will have their ransoms paid and will be released after a couple months. The average time in captivity is closer to a year. Colombian Erben Hoyos was one of the lucky ones. His ransom came after 17 days. That 2.5 weeks in captivity changed his life. His front door is now 3 inches of steel. His clothes conceal a bulletproof vest. A pistol stays nearby. More importantly, Hoyos, a journalist, launched a new kind of radio program.
Iniciamos en esta madrugada a través de Caracol Internacional esta cita humanitaria con todos los secuestrados en Colombia. Como siempre, todo listo para iniciar.
Twice a week, family and friends of hostages come in or call in to his show. He broadcasts their words of encouragement.
Amor, cuídate mucho. Te seguimos esperando.
This girl hasn't seen her father for over 2 years.
Hola, abuelitos. Quiero decirles que todo anda muy bien.
I want to tell you that everything is going fine, that we are waiting for you with strength and high spirits. We will continue to be strong with high hopes that everything is well. Continue ahead with courage and strive through the path which will soon end. Who love you.
Deep in the jungle, the kidnappers tune in. They've said it keeps their victims' morale up and makes them more manageable. Victims say the one-way connection to their family saved their sanity, that they lived from broadcast to broadcast. This German national was kidnapped while living in Bogotá, Colombia.
Die Sendung ist unheimlich wichtig für die Entführten, wenn man draußen in der Wildnis ganz.
The show is very important to you as a hostage. When you are out there in the jungle, cut off from any family, children, or wife, when you hear their voices on the radio, I cannot describe what you feel when you hear them.
While kidnapping is part of the social fabric of many countries, Americans receive little news of this growing danger.
Very few of those are like the Pearl case that receive any media scrutiny whatsoever.
You know, it is difficult to report about because people are reluctant to talk. I can understand why people are reluctant to talk.
There's others who write books and go on the TV circuit, but a great many of them don't really want to be in the media spotlight and would prefer to maintain their privacy. Companies that operate overseas often are reluctant to have media coverage of this event, fearing that it will make their other employees vulnerable when it's found out that they had an employee grabbed and they paid a ransom.
This type of crime has always been shrouded in secrecy. If the reality were known, how successful a strategy that kidnapping someone was, it could only increase this type of crime. It is in the interest of everyone not to let it be known that this is such an effective tactic.
The work that we do in the FBI is fairly sensitive, and our reward is not so much media attention, but rather having a victim come home safe to their family.
Returning home is not returning to normal. Mental scars linger. John Heidema still protects the few items he had in captivity. Jürgen Ullman collects details on international scams, 500 cases so far. Sheila Ullman now suffers migraines. Jim Harrell's house has surveillance mirrors and hidden cameras. Wife Juanita suspects someone is digging a tunnel under their home. And mourning continues for the innocent lives lost. No one we interviewed for this program suggested that Americans should not travel abroad. But if you do visit a developing country, you can reduce your risks. Before going, check the U.S. State Department's website for special warnings. Don't wear clothing that identifies you as American. Don't wear jewelry, not even a cheap watch. And don't get into just any taxi. Have your hotel call a driver whom they know and trust.